You are listening to the Retina UK National Peer Support Group Autumn Meeting, recorded Tuesday, 27th of September 2022.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our second National Peer Group for Retina UK. This is our autumn meeting, and my name is Mark Baxter. I'm the Information Support Coordinator for Retina UK. Not only am I a member of staff, I am also living with retinitis pigmentosa, so I am a member of the sight loss community, and this is why we put on our local peer groups and our newly formed national peer group, which was launched this summer. We will be hosting 4 meetings per year, with the next one going to be just after the new year, where we'll be hopefully talking about activity holidays for those living with sensory loss, both deaf and vision loss. If that's something of your interest, please subscribe to our newsletter, where you'll receive updates not only on our national peer group, but all information and support events that are launched by Retina UK and the other services that we will provide. I will give a rundown towards the end of the meeting of what's coming up, hopefully in your area. And if you don't have a local peer group in your area and you'd like to have one, or you think it would benefit your community, then please drop me an email and I'll give full details of that at the end as well, if that's something that you'll be interested in. And now I would like to hand over to our speaker this evening. Her name's Lynsey Sykes Davis, who will be talking about money matters, budgeting and your financial well-being. So thank you very much, Lindsay, for joining us this evening. It's much appreciated. Over to you.
Great. Hi there. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining today. And thank you, Mark, for introducing me and for inviting me to take part today. So I think we have 20 minutes. So I will be talking quite fast, but there will be plenty of time at the end to ask me any questions that you'd like to ask. We have such a great turnout, and hopefully maybe some of you had a quick look at my profile. So just to give you a little bit of background about me, I've been in financial services for about 25 years. I know I don't look old enough, but I have. And I ran my own business as a financial advisor for over 10 years. So I've got lots of experience giving financial advice, working with people of all sorts of backgrounds, all sorts of different educational backgrounds, and things like that. So I think the important thing from today's session is I don't want you to go away feeling really overwhelmed. We're going through some very challenging times, and this winter particularly, it could be quite challenging for all of us. So I don't want you to feel that you're alone. One thing I've certainly learned in all those years of working with people is it's very common for people to feel quite disillusioned about money, not know where to go, what to do. So I don't want anyone to feel that you're on your own. There's plenty of help out there. And at the end, I'll obviously signpost you to a number of organisations. And I know that Retina UK as well has plenty of support available. So at the end, don't think there's any silly questions or anything like that. If there's something burning you want to ask, please do so. So what I'm just want to talk with you today for the next 20 minutes is just some very easy tips, some very easy things you could take away and look to implement. This is not about having a massive to-do list. It's not about feeling that you've got to be a financial expert or anything like that. I want you to go away and feel that you're back in control of your own finances, because quite often people tell me that they didn't know where to go, where to look, what apps to use, what bank account to use, all of these things. And actually putting yourself back in control and actually getting the reality of the situation quite often is not as bad as you fear it might be. So a few top tips really for today's session. So the first one, have a financial plan. Tip 1, have a financial plan. How many of you have actually thought about your financial future? Now, I know some of you have obviously been dealing with some quite challenging situations, but having a financial plan, usually, and if you can have it written down, perhaps involve all your family. This is when we're talking about money. Get everybody involved, whether it's your children, your spouse, your partner, whoever you're in a financial relationship with. Okay, let's get everybody involved in this. So start writing your financial plan down, because financial plans are more likely to happen if you've got them written down, and maybe you could have it, somewhere where you could easily access it. Think about your financial plan in 3 stages, 3 time frames. First one, short term. Think about the next 12 months. Now, this is really key. Now, for some of you, thinking about the next 12 months might be really all you can think about because we're going through very challenging times. So the next 12 months, sit down with all of your family and plan, what do you want to happen? What's going to happen in your life? Are you, for example, thinking of taking a holiday next summer? If so, how much is that going to cost? When does it need to be paid for? Thinking about, have you got, are there other challenging situations? Are you changing jobs? Are you moving house? So the next 12 months, sit down and work out what's going to happen. What would you like to see happen in your life? That's the short term. Second is the next 3 to 5 years, medium term, 3 to 5 years. Again, thinking about what's going to happen in your life. Are you changing jobs, moving house, starting a family, whatever it is, but write it all down. So some of these things are going to come with a cost. If there's a big holiday or an anniversary or a wedding or something like that, think about how you're going to pay for these things, because I'm going to show you shortly how you can start to put your plan in place and have little savings pots and things like that that will be able to make these things happen. Finally, then it's the longer term, 5-10 years or more. Now, for some of you, that might be, maybe planning for your retirement. How many of you have actually got a pension? I'm really hoping that nearly all of you have got a pension of some description, because if you have, that's your longer term plan already started. And it's a sad reality, unfortunately, that the average 60-year-old gets to retirement age and doesn't have a pension or doesn't have very much sort of backup to rely on. So if you've got a pension, well done. That's a massive tick in the box. What you're going to do is, hopefully, and I'll show you at the shortly, is to look at reviewing those pensions. So maybe we've already started our longer term savings plan. We just need to go back in time, think of the next 3 to 5 years and then the next 12 months. But get this plan started. Preparation is the key. Because as I said, if there are things that you want to see happen in your life, it's more likely to happen if you've got it written down, and review it regularly, go back over it. So preparation, get that financial plan. Second tip, do a budget. How many of you know what's coming in and out of your bank accounts? Again, this can be, and I hear this quite often, people say, well, I didn't want to look. A really good example of somebody who's in a good financial shape is if I said to you, how much is in your bank account at the moment? If you could tell me to say the nearest £10, what's in your bank account at the moment, that's somebody that's in good financial shape. It's not someone that's thinking, well, I daren't look, I don't know what's in my bank account. Okay, I'm sure the reality is not as bad as you might fear it to be. So you need to do a budget. Now, you can do this in a variety of ways, and I understand for some of you it might be a little bit more challenging to do it in a conventional sense, but you could maybe a calculator, a piece of paper, a pen. For some of you that like some of these online apps, a lot of the bank accounts these days do online budget planners. You can download them from various charities. So the Money Helper website, I think the turntous.org.uk website as well has various budget planners. I also found today on the Royal, I think it's the Blind Association, they also have a budget planner that you can download. And actually that website has got some really handy tips as well for helping people with visual impairments. So have a look, do a budget planner. So how you do a budget is this: you look at what's coming in. That might sound easy, but it might be coming in from different sources. Maybe it's income, maybe it's money that's coming in from welfare payments, support payments, that sort of thing. But to do a budget properly, it needs honesty, and it needs you to actually go through your bank account and say, okay, well, where am I spending my money? This is really relevant at the moment because there may be some ways that you could reduce some of your outgoings. And I'm not expecting you to think about, reducing your outgoings by, huge amounts of money. But believe me, even £5, £10, £15, reducing your outgoings slightly, you could divert that into savings. And I'm going to show you in a moment how you can easily do some savings plans. And I'm going to set you all a savings challenge, a really easy savings challenge. So I'll talk about that in a moment. But do a budget. So go through with a fine-tooth comb your bank statements. So say get somebody to help you if needed. What's coming in? Okay. Is there an opportunity maybe to go and check if you're eligible for any other benefits? So the Turn to Us website as well. I'm sure Retina UK can help with that as well. Are you entitled to any other support? Have you checked out whether or not you are entitled to anything else? Particularly at the moment with, the energy crisis, there could be extra payments that you could be eligible for. So it's yours. Go and find it, because that could make a big difference to, the income that's coming in the house. So what you work out, what's coming in, and then you look at what's going out. The way to look at your outgoings, a lot of financial experts say that your outgoings should be split in 3 ways. 50% should be on what your needs are. So the mortgage, the rent, the council tax, the utility bills. So 50% on that. 30% on what you want. So think about, obviously, we have to treat ourselves, you work hard, life is to be enjoyed. So 30% of your outgoings should be on what you want. And then 20% should be spent on savings or paying off any debt that you've got. So if you could overpay onto any other debts, if you've got credit card bills, overdrafts, mortgages, loans, things like that. So it's the 50-30 sort of 20 split. That's a sort of a general rule, but that doesn't necessarily work for everybody. So you need to work out, what works for you, but you want to try and put something into savings if you can. And so going through all of your outgoings, be really honest. In my experience as well with money matters, the way we spend is linked to our emotions. How many of us maybe have had a bad day sometimes when we go and have a look online or buy something from Amazon or go and get something that cheers us up. There's nothing wrong with that, but you need to be honest about, are you overspending in certain areas because of how you're feeling? I think Advice in Thinking, Mark had mentioned, I think there's a service that's being launched later this week from Retinate all about mental health and things like that, and how they can support you with mental health. Again, money matters and mental health go hand in hand. The biggest reason why most people are off sick from work is usually because of financial pressures. Money matters. Feeling stressed about money and don't know who to talk to. So those things go hand in hand. So if there's any help available in terms of mental health, go and find it. You're not on your own, okay? It's perfectly normal to feel stressed about money issues. So do our budget, have a look at all of our outgoings, look at where we're spending, where we're shopping. Can we take advantage of any discount codes? Take the time to plan before we go and spend if we're going to the supermarket. The reason I say this is, if you were able to look at your outgoings and you could reduce them by, say, £5, £10, £20 a month, and divert that into one of the things that you said you wanted to do in your financial plan, okay, you'd be a lot better off. This is not about saving hundreds of pounds, because for the vast majority of us, that's just not possible. What I want you to think about is whether or not you could actually put £5, £10, £20 a month away into a savings pot. Again, when you said about the things you might do in your short-term plan or your medium-term plan, if there's a big holiday that's planned for the next 2 years, in 2 years' time, if you put away, a little bit of money, you're going to meet that objective. You're going to have that money available. There's various apps and things that can help for those of you who are a little bit more sort of savvy or enjoy that sort of thing. So banks like Monzo Bank, some of these online banks, you can set up lots of different savings pots. So you could have one that's your holiday in 2023 pot. You could have one that's the wedding pot in 2025. Split all your savings out in accordance with everything that you wrote down on your financial plan. So I have lots of little savings pots, and I just put a few pounds in here and there to them. Small amounts and often is the way to go with savings. Okay, this is not, I said, it's not me telling you, you need to put hundreds of pounds away, but savings is a bit like a snowball. If you just start with small amounts, it just gets bigger and just gets bigger and bigger. So just work out from your expenditure and your budget what you could feasibly and realistically put aside and divert that into a savings pot. Thirdly, get all of your paperwork out. Now, if you're anything like me, paperwork is sort of, in unopened envelopes in piles of where I'll, try and get round to it at some point. It could be in a drawer somewhere. You could be, have it in a filing cabinet, whatever. But get all the paperwork out, because to be able to put yourself back in control of your finances, you need to know what your financial situation looks like, the reality of it. How many pensions do you have? How many savings pot? What's the interest rate on your mortgage? What insurances do you have? what's coming in and out of your bank account. So if I said to you, tell me about your financial situation, you should have it there either on a piece of paper or on an Excel spreadsheet, or however you choose to organize your finances. So if you go away from today starting to put down your, make some semblance of a plan, I want you to be able to say, okay, this is me. This is my financial situation here on a piece of paper. I've got this in pensions. I've got this in savings. This is my mortgage. These are all the insurance plans or whatever it is. Okay, so get all the paperwork out. That can be a really boring job. I know that. And actually, I read a statistic that said that the most popular time of year when people start organising their paperwork is Christmas Day evening. I don't know what that says about us spending time with our families, but that drives us all to go and start getting all our paperwork out. But however you choose to do it, just do it. It's a bit boring. Allocate an hour or so, but get everything together. You might be pleasantly surprised actually that your financial situation is not as bad as you thought it was. And actually you may have pensions that you forgot about. I'll come on to pensions towards the end of this just to tell you about that. So get all your paperwork together. Okay, next tip. Try and look at paying off any debt that you've got. This is really relevant at the moment because we're seeing interest rates are starting to go up. And I know that it can feel quite scary because we've been in a low interest rate environment for many years. And then all of a sudden, the Bank of England is coming out and putting up interest rates. So if you have any debt, have a look at the ones where the interest rates are the highest. So that's usually things like credit cards and overdrafts. Overdrafts are an eye-watering expensive. I think the average overdraft interest rate is about 40% in this country. That is incredibly high. Also, when you were doing your budget, if any of you found that you were spending quite a lot of money on overdraft fees, that could be telling you, because overdraft fees are now charged daily. If you are doing that, what that might be telling you is that the overdraft is not a long-term solution. It's a very, very expensive way of borrowing. So maybe talk to your bank about maybe an alternative of paying off the overdraft and having a cheaper form of borrowing. If you can look at overpaying into mortgages or loans and things like that, that should be really important. As I said, with 20% of your outgoings, it should be diverted into either savings and or a mixture of repaying some of your debt. So look at the most expensive debt and look at trying to pay that off. I just want to say as well, if any of you are struggling with debt, and this is very common, and obviously I don't expect anyone to share any information today, please don't feel that you're on your own. Okay, it's a very common situation to get into. If you're starting to feel, and might not be you, but maybe your family, your friends, anybody you know, if you know of anyone that you think is struggling with debt, I would urge you very strongly to go and talk to maybe Step Change, which is a fantastic debt charity. What they would ask you to do is to have your budget and a list of all of your liabilities. And what Step Change will do is they will go and talk to your lenders on your behalf. It takes away all of that worry and stress. So don't feel that there's nobody here to help. So say Step Change, Citizens Advice, they're really good at providing some support with any debt that starts to become a problem. And if that is you or anybody you know, please don't suffer in silence. I can absolutely promise you there's not a debt problem that can't be resolved. Okay. And debt happens for all sorts of reasons. Situations happen to us, relationships break down, we lose our jobs. So again, don't feel that it's something to feel guilty or embarrassed about. It's not. You can resolve it, but we've got to face it. So tell someone, talk to someone, tell them what's been happening. Okay. So that's just if you're having any issues with problem debt. Also, how many of you have checked your credit file recently, or your credit rating? So that's, again, part of this financial plan, particularly if you were maybe thinking of looking at replacing some of the borrowing with something cheaper. You want to know where your credit rating is looking. So there are 3 different credit rating agencies in the UK: Experian, Equifax and TransUnion. Experian is the biggest. They all will show your credit rating in different ways. They are 3-digit numbers. So Experian, the highest you can have is 999. I like Experian because I like their website. It's quite easy to navigate. But if you've never checked your credit rating, I would suggest you do. And there's a couple of reasons why. One, just for security. just to make sure that nobody is, in this day and age, we do have a rise in scams and financial scams, and I want you to be safe. So just check your credit file, make sure there's nothing on there that you don't know about. But also there could be mistakes on credit rating files and things like that. So it can give you the opportunity to try and put anything right. So there's a couple of myths as well about credit ratings as well. Some people think that if you check your credit rating, it affects your credit rating. It doesn't. It doesn't at all. It's only if external companies, if you apply for any credit, that can affect your credit rating. So for you to go and check your credit rating is just a normal, sensible thing to do, has no effect whatsoever. So do check your credit file, make sure all the information is correct. If there's anything on there that's not correct, you can get it updated. So you just contact Experian or Equifax or whatever, and they will put it right. So again, do have a look. It can be quite interesting, these credit rating files as well. So have a look at that. Right, so next tip. I said about looking at your budget, and hopefully you've got more coming in than going out. If not, obviously go back, have a look at how you might be able to make some savings, look at all the different outgoings you've got. And if you think actually realistically, I could probably put a little aside into savings. The first priority really is to get yourself an emergency fund, a cushion. Now, in an ideal world, the emergency fund needs to be 3 times your outgoings. So if you looked at your budget and it's, let's say it's £1,000 is going out the account every month, you need to ideally aim to have at least 3,000, so 3 times that in an emergency fund. Now, I know that can be difficult to try and do in these times, but it's something to try and aim for. So I'm going to set you a savings challenge that might be able to help you put together this emergency fund. Okay, has anyone heard of the penny challenge? This has been in the news quite a bit. You see this in January when a lot of people, but we can start our savings challenge today. So we're going to save for a year. That's 365 days. So why not start today? Because that means we could have some money in time for Christmas in 2023. So 365 days. Today is day 1, and I'm going to save a penny. Tomorrow is day 2. I'm going to save 2p. On the 3rd day, I'm going to save 3p, and then 4p, 5p, so on and so on. So every day I save 1 penny more. On the very last day, the 365th day, I'll save £3.65. Would anybody like to hazard a guess how much over that year I could potentially have in my savings pot?
I think,
Go on, Mark.
I wouldn't have a clue. Up of £500?
Okay, I'll tell you the answer. It's 667.
Wow, that's astonishing. Just
So
by
if you,
saving 1 penny.
Yeah. And there are various apps that can do it, or look, we can do it in the old-fashioned way if we've all got a piggy bank somewhere. So you just have to be quite disciplined. So the penny today, 2p tomorrow, but in a year's time, you could have £667. Now, that is going some way towards having that emergency fund that I said to you to have. Or it could be, for Christmas in 2023, however you would choose to spend it. Now, I know lots of people who've done it. They carry on doing it year after year. It's made a huge difference to them. Other ways you could do it is just by collecting 50p's, pound coins, £2 coins, popping them into a pot. It really does start to add up. You'll be, I'm flabbergasted actually when people tell me how much they've managed to save. The second savings challenge, this is a bit more ambitious, but hey, we'll give it a go if you can. Is it's over 52 weeks. So again, it's for a year, but we save £1 more each week. So today, week 1, we save £1. Week 2, we save £2. Week 3, £3, then £4, so on and so on. Again, anyone like to hazard a guess in a year's time if we did that, how much we might have?
It's going to be around sort of 6,570. Is that right?
No, it's actually about 1,500, Mark.
Oh, right. I got that well wrong. I'm not a financial planner. You can tell that my math is astonishing. Or is that just wishful thinking?
Yeah, maybe. But the point is, 600 and odd pounds, £1,500, amalgamate those two together. How do we feel about maybe doing a penny challenge? A lot of people do that, and it's quite easy, quite simple. You wouldn't notice it. But by the end, in a year's time, you'll have, quite a substantial amount of money. And said you might be able to earn a little bit of interest on that as well, if our bank is feeling generous. So look at a couple of these little savings challenges. Like I said, I know a lot of people that have been to my webinars and said, I've never had savings before, and then they went away and did it. And then it's made such a big difference to them afterwards. So good luck if you can do it. I'll hopefully get some feedback from Mark at some point in the future. Okay, so we've done our savings and we've built our emergency fund. Next is have a look at your pensions, look at any other savings plans, and if you can, look at getting your pensions reviewed. What I would say to you is, if you've got lots of different pensions, please don't make any hasty decisions about moving them, transferring them without taking some advice. You can get some free financial advice. There's a website called www.unbiased, U-N-B-I-A-S-E-D, unbiased.co.uk. It will give you a list of financial advisors and mortgage advisors in your area. You just pop your postcode in, it will give you a list of advisors, and you can go and have a chat with somebody for free. You can always get the first meeting for free. So pensions is a big thing. Remember, it's your long-term financial plan we talked about. So for those of you who are maybe thinking of retiring at some point, maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, or for those younger people who've got a little way to go to retirement, don't make any hasty decisions about moving pensions until you've taken advice, but start to plan. What I would say is as well, there's a myth as well that to have financial advice means you have to be very wealthy. That's not true. Okay, if you've got, it doesn't matter what's in your pension, but do try and seek some financial advice, particularly for those of you who are getting older. Okay, so take some advice, because these are really important decisions and I wouldn't want you to make the wrong decisions. Okay, so I'm just going to finish off. Then the next one is to seek some help and to look at the organisations that can help with any signposting. So a few organisations that I really like are Money Helper, which used to be the Money Advice Service. They've just redone their website. It's fantastic. Again, I appreciate you may need some help, maybe accessing some of the information that's on there. But they have lots of really useful guides, particularly at the moment. So have a look at that. They've also covered quite a lot of what I've covered today. Turntous.org.uk as well, really good for making sure if you're eligible for any additional, welfare payments or help or anything like that. It's yours, go and get it. Step Change, if you're having any financial difficulties, a great charity. The Money Saving Expert, does anybody follow Martin Lewis? He does actually talk some sense. There's some really useful information on his website as well. The gov.uk website for any sort of practical assistance and things like that, and obviously any internal help. I know Retina UK are really keen to, if you need any other help, but so those are the things really. Those are sort of the key tips. So shall we open up to any questions, Mark, if that's okay? Does anybody have anything, or shall I have a look in the chat box?
Let's have a look. Have we got anything in the chat box? Anyone got their hands up?
Not that I can see. Oh, Jane Sellers.
Jane Sellers. Hi, Jane. Are you okay to unmute yourself?
Can you unmute me?
Yeah.
Hi, Jane. What's your question for Lindsay?
I used to work for social services 30 odd years ago, and I don't know whether I had a pension for, it was a year. It was only supposed to be temporary contact for 3 months, but ended up being a year. But I don't know how to find out whether I have a pension from that period of time.
Okay,
how would I go about it?
That's a really great question. So on the gov.uk website, so that's the official government website, if you go into that, it's got a section called missing pensions. So you can either Google it or go in. They have a tracing service that's free of charge, where they will trace any pension from any place. So if you have any information about, if it was the social services, whereabouts it was roughly, what year it was roughly. Okay, so there's a form you can fill out on the missing pensions bit. Put in as much information as you can. If you had a different name then, a different address, if you can remember what that might have been, and they'll go and trace it for you. So it's a free service, but that is a perfect example of something you should absolutely be trying to trace. There's something like £1 billion of unclaimed pensions sitting in the system.
Yeah.
And that's our money. That's your money. You should go and
Exactly.
find out about it. Yeah. So good luck. So try the missing pension service on gov.uk. If not, if you can remember, where roughly you worked.
Yeah.
To try and contact them.
Yeah.
So maybe contact them and maybe do the missing pension service. But that's why the government has put that into place, is to get people's pensions back to them.
Thank you very much for the
luck.
answer. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for that. And what we'll do is all of the websites and the signposting that Lindsay's mentioned, we will put all of that into our follow-up email that we're sending out along with the audio recording of tonight's meeting. So don't feel you have to keep jotting everything down, the websites and everything like that. That will all be available for you to peruse at your leisure in a couple of days' time.
I think we've got a question in the chat box. Could I just read this out? So we've got here, where would you suggest putting your savings? That's a great question. So a place to start could be with your bank. So look at an online saver. So for instant access savings, you would just look at like an online saver. There are best buy tables you can find in the papers at the weekend, but some of the better savings rates are with some of these online banks. And I'd like to reassure you that these online banks are perfectly safe. They are regulated in exactly the same way as Lloyds and Barclays and HSBC are. So banks like Starling, Monzo, Revolut, things like that, they can offer higher interest rates. And the reason they can do that is they don't have branches. They don't have the costs associated like Barclays and Lloyds do. So they can generally offer. So maybe do some research. The Money Saving Expert website, so the Martin Lewis website, he has a best buy table on there of the latest savings rates. So go and have a look. Start to build your online, your online and instant access account. So I would start there. Is what I would do. We've got a few hands up. Colin.
Oh, we've got Rohal, sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, have I jumped the queue?
Yeah, we've got Rohal, I think.
Yeah, Rohal, go ahead.
Hello, hi. Yeah, this is very, very informative. Thank you so much for bringing this to us, Mark, and with yourself, my dear. What I'd like to know is, I'm 48 years old, so I've just joined Pension B. I haven't put anything in there as of yet. Do you think it's a bit late for me? And how much, if it's all right, how much can I save in there every year? I haven't got any other pension, so I've just joined Pension B, basically.
Okay. It is never too late to start a pension, and I applaud you for doing it. You're never too old. So basically, you can save up to 100% of your income. Is the maximum you can put in. So whatever you earn in a year is what you can put into your pension every year.
Right.
But I would start with what is affordable. So if you just go through your budget, as I said, have a look at, what is realistically affordable. Because remember, if you put money into a pension now, you can't take it out until you're 55 at the earliest. So don't put money in there that you can't afford not to have. But I would start with something small. Check what the minimum contribution level is with Pension B. Some of them are as low as £20 a month. Also remember, one of the incentives of saving into a pension is the government puts money into the pension for you. So let me explain what that is. For every payment you put into the pension, the government will put something called tax relief in, and it's basically an additional payment. It's basically giving you back some of the tax. It's trying to incentivize us all to save for our pension and our retirement. So you'll put some money in. Every time you do that, the government will put some more money in for you. So it's actually a win-win situation. So never too late. I'd start with what you could comfortably afford and work from there.
Are these companies quite safe? Because they always put it like on LBC radio, like, your pot can go up, your capital is at risk. Are these companies quite secure, like Pension B and things like that, or can they go bust and then that's it, all the money's gone?
Okay, they are all protected. The words that you need to check. So Pension B is regulated, but for any other companies, the thing you need to check is if it says at the bottom regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.
Sure.
If it says that, your money is 100% protected. It doesn't matter what happens to that company, your money is never lost. So I'd like to reassure you, whether it's a bank, a pension company, insurance company, if it says the words regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority, your money is completely safe. You will never lose it.
Right. And are we able to, after this meeting, anytime, are we able to send you any questions that we might have later on, or?
You're very welcome to, assuming I don't get hundreds of questions. But yes, I might have to come back and do another session. But yes, if there's something that's a burning question and you want to ask, you just direct it to Mark, and I'd be happy to help you.
Thank you so much again.
We've got Nadia next. Hello, Nadia.
Hiya. Hello, can you hear me okay?
I can, yes.
I thought that was a really informative talk, so thank you for that. My sort of comment really, I think I was part of that group of people who thought that checking your credit score would affect it. So I'm going to try that tonight and see if I can check my credit score. So I'm quite looking forward to that because I've always avoided it. And the other recommendation really is in terms of online banking, I found that the Chase app is really good for accessibility for people using screen readers like TalkBack or VoiceOver. I found it to be really accessible. Everything's labeled, and I found online banking to be really easy with that. So that's a recommendation for anybody else. And the third thing I wanted to say was, you mentioned that you can get apps that automate the savings, like the penny challenge. Could you name a few that I could maybe look into?
Yes, so Monzo Bank is the one that trialed it, and they automate it for you. So you can just set up a savings pot. You can call it the penny challenge, and what it does is it automatically moves the money over for you. I think there's a couple of other banks. I think some of the bigger banks do it as well, like Barclays and things like that. We'd have to, if you maybe Google it, it will tell you which ones do it. Also, a lot of the banks are doing this where they round up the change. So again, you don't notice it every time you spend money on your debit card. It rounds it up and puts money into a separate savings pot, and you'd be, surprised at really how much you can accumulate. Just with regards to that comment about Chase Bank, that's really great feedback actually, and because recently Chase Bank was offering the best savings rate for a deposit account in the market, so much so that they had something like a 5-week wait to try and get these accounts open. That's how popular they were. So it obviously sounds like they're very popular, and with good reason. So that's great feedback for everyone. Thank you for that, Nadia.
We've got, oh, sorry.
It's okay, that's fine.
We've got Colin next. Hi, Colin.
Hi, Mark. Just a question I wanted to ask. I'm very lucky from a previous work that I have quite a good pension sitting in a pot. It was actually one of the final salaries, so it's doing quite well at the moment, or has been doing quite well up until this week. The problem I have is I've now been moved to universal credit. So if you take a pension, or if I was to start taking a pension, they offset it against what you get on universal credit. So if I was to take £100 a month off my pension, which I can do now because I'm over 50, they would just deduct it off my universal credit.
Yeah, so because they pension is like another income. It's a form of income. Obviously, you've saved it over a period of time and it gets paid out later. So yes, that is something to bear in mind. It also really depends on whether or not you need to access the pension now. So if you do need it, then obviously, it's your pension, you're entitled to it, but it might make sense to try and defer it and take it at a later stage where perhaps, the impact on your universal credit payments is not so.
Yeah,
great.
but when I've looked into it, what they're saying is basically my retirement date will be 67, and what they're saying is now the universal credit make you take it.
Okay. And have you had any actual formal advice about that? Has someone actually formally told you that?
No. Yes, I have actually. I spoke to Citizens Advice on the matter.
Right,
I said
okay.
I would have to look at it in more detail because I was actually looking at sort of, I need money to bury me at some point, and that would be a nice way to do it. But it's just beggars belief. I mean, the pension's there, and you're getting forced to use it.
Have you had an appointment with Pensions Wise? That's one of the
I spoke to my financial advisor about it.
Oh, okay, fine. So you've taken some proper advice. Yeah, pensions they're deemed to be income in which they are taxable like any other form of income, sadly.
Well, they said to me last week, actually, I could take a quarter out tax-free.
Yep.
Right. But if I do that, then that's my housing benefit stopped and everything. That's just whacked me again. So, yeah.
I know there's a lot to try and take into account, isn't there?
Yeah.
But if you've taken advice, that's the right thing to have done.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Colin. We've got a question for Claire next.
Hi there. Just wondering what's the most sensible way to save for children's university. Basically, got 3 kids and they each have very small child trust funds. And are you better to put it in a pot in your bank, or should you just keep adding to those?
Okay. Can I ask you how old your children are?
They are 12, 14 and 16, and no, one's already at university, so she's already dealing the funds.
Okay, so you could think about doing what's called a junior ISA. So where the child can have, so an ISA is basically a tax-free savings account. They actually, junior ISAs replace the old child trust fund accounts. And what you can actually do is transfer the old child trust fund payments into a junior ISA. So basically all the growth within the junior ISA will be completely tax-free. The only downside of a junior ISA is when the child becomes 18, it legally becomes their money. So I don't know how you feel about an 18-year-old having access to some money that you've accumulated. They might be, depends how sensible. Yeah, I was going to say how sensible you think they are. But junior ISAs, I will have a look into that. You don't have to invest them in stocks and shares. You could have it in cash. You could invest it's the ISA itself that's the important thing, because it's tax-free. So maybe talk to your bank and have a look online, what are the best cash junior ISAs.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any final
questions? It's David here.
Hello, David.
I was somewhat confused about her 360 savings plan, 365 days in a year savings plan, when she said it would yield the high figure it yield. Because if you're only saving a penny a day, that's 365 days in a year. That's only £365.
No, David, you save a penny more each day. So on day 1, it's a penny. On the second day, it's 2p. On the third day, it's 3p. Then it's 4p. Then 5p. So it's a penny.
Right.
It's a penny more. It's a penny more each day.
Or increments each day.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Right. I'm with you now. And the other thing I wanted to touch on is more of what was that blind? You said one blind organisation did a budgeting app, didn't they? A help, like a what-if analysis.
Yes, the RNIB.
Oh, RNIB, right.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I had a look on there this morning. I was doing a bit of research to try and help you. And they have their own budgeting app, and they also had a list of handy hints and tips and things like that, and a guide you could download. So yeah, if you're able to access
I thought it was some form of app. I didn't know it was just. I've heard of the fact sheets before. I thought this was some form of app because I was only thinking you can do a what-if analysis in your spreadsheet, can't you? If you edit or you save that spreadsheet and open a new, save it under a different name, and then you preserve the other one, and then you can play about with your figures.
But they had some really useful information and guides and things like that. I think that the point is there's just a lot of help out there for that we don't realize, and I know you need to make it as user friendly as you possibly can, but a lot of this is really just trial and error, hearing what works for other people. So as Nadia said, she's given an example, and this is great for you to get together as a community and can share these great tips, what works well for you. There's another question in the chat box. Someone said, as a non-resident, can I open a savings account in the UK? When you say non-resident, as in you don't live in the UK permanently.
Oh, come on, man.
Is that right? So yeah, so you don't live in, right? Okay. So I suppose the thing is, if you opened an account in the UK, it kind of wouldn't make a lot of sense, because you might be forced to pay tax on any savings and things like that. But what you can do is open an account with a UK bank, but when they have an offshore part to it. So for example, if it was HSBC based in Guernsey or Jersey or something like that. So I think it wouldn't make sense for you to have an account in the UK necessarily, because you might be paying tax unnecessarily. So that, if that helps answer that one. So just conscious of time, Mark, but is there anything else anyone would like? Any?
Oh, Esther's got her hands up. Hi, Esther.
Yeah, hi, thank you. Sorry, this might be a silly question, but I'm Italian, so I'm not completely aware of all the systems here in the UK. But I wanted to know, for example, I get child benefits and they are a contribution towards my state pension. And I am in the process of registering as visually impaired, and I think we get some contribution towards a state pension as well if we are registered visually impaired or blind. I don't know if this is true. Maybe you can help me in confirming this. My question was, all these kind of contributions add up, or they are equivalent and one or the other is the same in the end towards the pension?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for any of you as well, if you haven't checked out what your state pension entitlement is, I would, again, part of this plan is to go and find out what you're entitled to. So, you will have something. So the state pension is based on national insurance contributions, or where the government have made those contributions for you, because if you're in receipt of benefits. State pension will kick in for most of you at about 67 or 68. You go onto the gov.uk website, there's a section all about state pension entitlement. You pop in your details, your national insurance number, etc., and it will tell you what you're likely to get in terms of state pension. So if you've contributed or paid national insurance for 35 years in the UK, you will get the full state pension, which is around, I think it's about £175 a week. It's about 9,000 a year. That's quite quite a decent amount. It's not going to be everything to live off, but it's something that you've paid into. And so for this lady, Esther, you could also check your state pension entitlement. What it will tell you is you'll get a proportion of that. You'll get a percentage of that, and it will tell you based on what the government is putting aside.
I know this. I've done it. I've done it.
Great.
Yes. Now I wanted just to understand, once I will be registered, and I've been told that I will receive contributions towards the state pension, and in the meantime my children are older and I stop receiving the child benefit, will the registration as visually impaired or blind continue? And when they are both happening, do they add up so I get more contribution, or it's one contribution only? Do you understand what I mean?
Yes, I do. Yes. So if you're, as I understand, if you're in receipt of benefit payments, even if your children have long gone off into the world, you will still get something. They will put something aside to you. And when you checked your state pension, it would have told you that. So it will say based on that, the contributions continue and you will get XYZ at this age.
Okay.
It's taking all that into account.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much, Esther. We've got a couple of questions. We had Joyce put a hand up, and now her hand's been put down. Have you still got a question, Joyce? No. And then what we've got in the comments box.
No, sorry.
Yeah, there's a question here. Good question. Says,
Yeah.
what happens if I die? Does my pension get transferred to my wife? Okay, that's a great question. The answer is yes. So if you have what's called if you have a final salary pension, I think, as Colin mentioned, with a final salary, 50% of the pension will be transferred to your spouse. If you have any other type of pension, so what we like an auto enrollment scheme, a personal pension, 100% of it is passed. It's really important that you make sure that you have nominated who is to get your money. So that whoever the pension provider is, contact them and make sure that you have filled out the appropriate form, so that if something does happen to you, your partner, your spouse gets the money upon your death. Really important that you do that. But yes, it will be passed on to the person you want it to.
Hi.
Excellent.
Sorry. My pension that I was talking about there. I got married again 3 years ago. So what I did was I looked at my situation there. Would my wife get that? Because it was final salary, they said basically she would get what I'd paid into it, which wasn't a lot compared to what it was. So what they advised me to do was to swap it into a private pension, and then she would get the full amount if I decided that. But I had to nominate it in a certain way, so it worked out better for us. But I was quite amazed at the fact that you weren't getting anything like what the final figure was in the event of death.
Yeah, you make a good point there, actually. So yeah, final salary pensions can be quite have good advantages to them, but not necessarily the death benefit side. Whereas private pensions, you know, they will get the full amount. So it sounds like then there again, you've taken some good, sensible advice there. And like I said, if you are in a position where perhaps you've married, remarried or something like that, just make sure that you've nominated the right person to get the money.
It's thank you very much, everybody, and thanks, Lindsay, so much for
thank you so much.
And
thanks, Lindsay.
It's now 8 o'clock. Before we all depart, as this is our national peer support group and everybody's joined us from all over the UK, I just wanted to let everybody know of some upcoming events that are happening towards the end of the month and leading into October, starting with tomorrow evening. Anyone that's joined us from Kent or surrounding areas is going to be on an online local peer support group meetings. Anybody can join. If you would like to come and join us for our Kent local peer support group meeting via Zoom, the information is available on our website under local peer support groups. We're going to be joined by our facilitator, Lucy Franks, who's going to be talking about her sight loss journey and how she used bouldering, which is indoor rock climbing without the ropes, as a way of helping her deal with her sight loss journey and the frustrations and challenges that come with sight loss. So that's very interesting. It's something that you would like to know more about. Also, as Lindsay mentioned earlier in her presentation, on Thursday evening at 7 p.m, we are having our September webinar, and it's going to be focusing on our Discover Wellbeing service that we launched at our general conference in July. So if you're interested in learning more about our Discover Wellbeing service and how we can help you with your general physical and mental well-being, please join Denise Rawdon, who will be talking a little bit more about that service and how you can get involved and how you can take part in it if you should need it. Moving on to Saturday, if we have anyone here joining us from Manchester, we have an in-person Manchester meeting at the Wardolph pub. Full details again are available on our website on how to register. We will be joined by Nina from Esme's Umbrella, who will be talking about Charles Bonnet syndrome and how Esme's Umbrella can support you if you are suffering from CBS and Charles Bonnet syndrome, or you'd like to know more about what this affliction is for those that are losing their vision. Moving on to next week, we will be hosting our in-person meeting in Glasgow, and we actually have Claire McGlavity joining us this evening from Visibility Scotland, who's invited us back to check out their independent living flat. So if you want to get hands-on with some smart technology and how it can improve your daily living, then please come and check that out. That's on the 5th of October. We also have anyone from West Midlands or the Birmingham area. We're going to be doing a museum touch tour at the Coffin Works in Birmingham. So that starts from 12 p.m. On the Thursday. So please come and check that one out as well. And then moving on to the 10th of October, if you're anyone from the Hampshire area, in Eastleigh, we're going to be again at Wells Place Centre, where we'll be joined by Keith Hatter, who's going to again talk about touch tours in the Hampshire area. I know he's been working with the Winchester Cathedral and also the Southampton Art Gallery. So we do have a lot coming up. Next year, if anyone was interested in doing the Hopefully to Sea View Challenge, that's now live on our website. So anyone from Isle of Wight or the Portsmouth area, that's a lovely walk to do, which will be on the 11th of June next year. So the registration page is open for that. And also, we've just launched our raffle for this year. So anybody that's interested in purchasing a raffle ticket to help us raise money for the much needed research that Retina UK helps to fund, you can purchase them by calling the office on 01280 821 334, or you can email info at our info email box, which is info@retinauk.org.uk, or you can jump onto our website and you can now download your tickets digitally as well. So we've got lots going on. If you do want any other information regarding the support services that we offer, including our talk and support befriending service, other local groups, as I mentioned before, if you would like one in your area, then please contact services@retinauk.org.uk to find out a bit more about our Discover Wellbeing, our talk and support service, local peer support groups, or if you have any other questions, you can contact us via our helpline, which is manned 9:30 AM to 9:30 PM, Monday to Friday. And the number for that is 0300 111 4000. That's 0300 111 4000. I'd just like to say thank you very much to everybody that's joined us. We've had an amazing turnout, so thanks very much for your attendance this evening, and thanks very much to Lynsey Sykes Davis, who's given us a wonderful talk about money matters and how we can prepare for the next financial year and next year as well. And hopefully everybody will take some advice and get themselves a budget plan or do the penny challenge. I know that's something that I might have a go at as well. And lastly, I'd like to say thanks to Caroline, who's sitting to my left, who's been reading your questions out and sitting here at the comms for us. So if anybody has any other final questions or comments before we all depart, and I'll let you get on with the rest of your evening. Has anybody got any final questions? Or
Mark, it's Colin here.
Hi, Colin.
Hi. The Northern Alliance group, we were supposed to have a meeting last month. Unfortunately, the train strikes hit us hard, so I had to take the steps to cancel it. Things were back on track with the funeral on board. Everybody stopped striking. So I rescheduled it for this Saturday. I noticed you've got the Manchester meeting on this Saturday. Unfortunately, the trains are off again on Saturday.
They are, yes.
So I've had to take the steps to cancel once again. So the Northern Alliance meeting in Newcastle shall be probably February, March, I would think. Okay. So I can't help these things. It's just got to go with the flow. So
I know
we'll get people coming from all over Britain, and so it's a case of
hopefully I would like to come and join you for this one. You know, we again, a couple of things have happened where I haven't been able to get up to Newcastle to come and meet you and represent Retina UK at your meeting. So and again, it would have been nice to come up in October, but there's just so much going on at the moment. And but yeah, if you please give me the details, and I'll see whether it's something that we can arrange for myself and Caroline to come up and say a few words and meet the group and join me for your next meeting. That would be amazing, Colin. But thanks very much.
That would be fantastic.
Cool.
Right, thank you.
No worries. Thank you, everybody. Has anybody got any final questions? Or
thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very, very much, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, and thanks again for joining us.
And you
Take
too.
care,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
We hope you have enjoyed this recording. If you have any questions, queries, or wish to leave any feedback, then please leave it in the comment section below. Alternatively, you can send your inquiries to info@retinauk.org.uk. Contact us via the telephone on 01280 821 334 or call our helpline on 0300 111 4000, which is open Monday to Friday 9:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. We hope you have enjoyed this recording. If you have any questions, queries, or wish to leave any feedback, then please leave it in the comment section below. Alternatively, you can send your inquiries to info@retinauk.org.uk. Contact us via the telephone on 01280 821 334 or call our helpline on 0300 111 4000, which is open Monday to Friday 9:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m.